Have you ever felt the invisible weight of an emotional tie that, instead of nurturing, imprisons? That feeling that part of your peace, your joy, rests in someone else's hands, by their whims and presence? This silent pain of excessive attachment, my friend, is a universal human experience, but it doesn't have to be a destiny. How many sleepless nights have you lost, replaying conversations, analyzing gestures, trying to decipher what's happening in the other person's world, while your own inner world cries out for attention? Today we are not here to offer magical solutions or empty promises. We are here to dive into an ancient wisdom, a beacon that has guided souls through emotional storms for centuries, Stoicism, especially under the light of the teachings of the emperor-philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He reminds us that, even in the whirlwind of human relationships, there is an inner fortress, a citadel of the soul that no one can invade unless you hand over the keys. This video is an invitation for you to reclaim those keys, to learn the art of emotionally detaching, not with coldness or cruel indifference, but with wisdom, self-respect, and a profound understanding of human nature and the flow of life. Over the next few minutes, we will explore 5 powerful Stoic lessons that will show you the path to this liberation. Prepare yourself, because the emotional transformation you seek begins now. And before we dive into this journey, I ask you to check if you are subscribed to the channel. It's a small gesture that helps us continue to bring these deep reflections to more people who, like you, are seeking an emotional safe harbor. Chapter 1. The Unshakable Inner Fortress, Recognizing the Power Within You. Lesson 1. The first and most fundamental lesson that Stoicism, and particularly Marcus Aurelius, offers us for emotional detachment is the recognition of our own inner fortress. In his Meditations, he writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." It sounds simple, doesn't it? But how often do we forget this fundamental truth when it comes to matters of the heart? When we are emotionally entangled with someone, our minds tend to fixate on the external, what he said, what she didn't do, why they pulled away, how to regain their attention. We cede control of our inner peace to the actions, words, or even the absence of the other. Stoicism calls us back home, to within ourselves. Imagine your mind as a citadel. The walls are your principles, your reason, your power of choice. Storms may rage outside, the uncertainties of the relationship, the pain of separation, the longing, but within that citadel, you are the commander. Emotionally detaching begins by recognizing that supreme power resides in your interpretation of events and your response to them, not in the events themselves. Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, echoed this wisdom by stating, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." When someone hurts us or distances themselves, the event itself is neutral. It is our interpretation. He doesn't value me. She abandoned me. I'll never be happy again. That causes the acute suffering. How do you begin to retake command of this fortress? First, through honest self-observation. What recurring thoughts about this person or situation undermine your peace? Write them down, if necessary. Then, question them in the light of Stoic reason. Is this truly under my control? Is another person's happiness my responsibility? Does my self-esteem depend on their approval? Marcus Aurelius advises us, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. This is not a process of denying pain, but of redirecting focus. The pain of losing a bond can be real, but prolonged suffering is often a choice, the choice to continue surrendering the power of your inner citadel. By recognizing that your mind is yours to govern, you take the first gigantic step towards detaching emotionally, not from the person cable in a hateful way, but from the control that the emotions associated with them exert over you. You begin to build a peace that does not depend on external tides, but on the solidity of your own inner walls. If this first lesson has already resonated with you, if the idea of an inner fortress has brought you a glimpse of hope, show your support by liking this video. It's a sign for us that we are on the right path. Chapter 2. The Impermanence of External Things, Accepting the Flow of Life. Lesson 2. The second crucial Stoic lesson for emotional detachment is the profound acceptance of impermanence. Everything in life, from the vast universe to our most intimate relationships, is in constant flux, in perpetual transformation. The Stoic philosopher Seneca frequently reminded us that the nature of life is transitory. All things that fortune has brought, he said, are unstable. This includes people, feelings, situations. Why is this acceptance so vital for emotional detachment? Because much of our suffering and attachment comes not from the love we feel, but from our resistance to change, from our desperate attempt to hold on to what by nature cannot be permanently retained in the same way. When a relationship changes, ends, or the person no longer meets our expectations, we fight against reality. It's like trying to dam a river with your bare hands, a guaranteed source of exhaustion and frustration. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reflects on the ephemeral nature of all things, not with pessimism, but with a liberating realism. He observed the course of rivers, the change of seasons, the cycle of life and death, and saw in it a natural order. Trying to fix a relationship, freeze a feeling, or demand that someone remain unchanged in their affections is to go against this fundamental order. Emotionally detaching from this perspective is not about giving up on love or connection, but about releasing the anchors of rigid expectation and possession. It's understanding that people enter and leave our lives, or change within them, and that trying to control this flow is a losing battle that only prolongs our pain. Think of a flower. We admire it for its beauty, but we don't expect it to bloom forever. Its beauty lies in part in its transience. In the same way, we can appreciate the moments lived, the love shared, the lessons learned in a relationship, even when it ends or transforms into something that no longer serves us. The acceptance of impermanence invites us to focus on the present, to value what we have while we have it, without the paralyzing anxiety of future loss or the bitterness of past loss. When you accept that nothing is permanent, you stop fighting the inevitable. You begin to allow emotions, including the sadness of loss, to flow through you without destroying you. Pain may visit, but it doesn't take up permanent residence, because you understand that it too is impermanent. This acceptance is not resigned passivity, but active wisdom. It's choosing to dance with the rhythm of life, instead of trying to impose your own tempo at all costs. By internalizing the lesson of impermanence, the weight of attachment occurs, and a surprising lightness can begin to emerge. You free yourself from the need to control the uncontrollable and open up space for the peace that comes with the simple act of letting be. Chapter 3. The Value of Selective Indifference. Defining Your Emotional Priorities. Lesson 3. We arrive at the third lesson, which is often misunderstood but is profoundly liberating. The practice of selective indifference or Stoic apatheia. Before you imagine a cold, emotionless human being, let me clarify. Stoic indifference is not about becoming apathetic or insensitive. On the contrary, it's about achieving a state of serenity and equanimity, free from disturbance by excessive and irrational emotions. It's about refined emotional wisdom. In the context of emotionally detaching from someone, selective indifference means consciously choosing where you invest your emotional energy. It means recognizing that not everything deserves your intense concern, your anguish, your endless analysis. Epictetus, another great Stoic, taught to clearly distinguish between what is under our control, our thoughts, judgments, actions, and what is not, the actions of others, their opinions, the past, the future. When we are attached to someone, we tend to give enormous weight to what is outside our control. What are they thinking of me now? Will they reach out to me? Why do they act this way? Each of these thoughts is an invitation to suffering because it places us in a state of dependency and reactivity. Stoic selective indifference invites us to withdraw our emotional investment from these areas. It's not about not caring about the person, especially if there was love and connection. It's about not allowing that person's actions and feelings to dictate your inner peace. Marcus Aurelius advised, perform every action as if it were the last of your life, free from all heedlessness, from all passionate aversion to the command of reason, from all hypocrisy, selfishness, and discontent with the portion allotted to you. Note the emphasis on your own action, your own reason. How to apply this in practice? Start by mentally or on paper listing the things related to this person that cause you distress. Then, for each item, Ask yourself honestly, is this under my direct control? If the answer is no, and most of the time it will be, when it comes to the feelings and behaviors of another adult, then consciously decide to practice indifference towards it. Not in the sense of contempt, but in the sense of not allowing it to disturb your soul. It's as if you have a limited budget of emotional energy. Do you really want to spend it trying to decipher the enigmas of someone else's mind, or worrying about scenarios that may never happen? Or would you prefer to invest it in your own virtues, in your personal growth, in your projects, in other relationships that nourish you? This selective indifference is an act of profound self-respect. It's telling yourself, my inner peace is too precious to be constantly shaken by what I cannot control. It's a path to tranquility, or ataraxia, so valued by the Stoics. By defining your emotional priorities and practicing this wise form of indifference, you cut many of the invisible threads that kept you internet, allowing for a more serene and empowering detachment. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What aspect of what is not under your control has been most difficult for you to emotionally let go of? Share your reflection in the comments. Remember, this is a safe space for sharing and mutual growth. Chapter 9. For the daily practice of mindfulness, observing your emotions without judgment. Lesson 4. The fourth Stoic lesson for emotional detachment leads us to a powerful inner practice, mindfulness, or prosos in Greek. Although often associated with Eastern traditions, mindfulness was a central concept in Stoicism, referring to the need to keep the mind attentive to the present moment, observing our thoughts and impressions without being swept away by them. In the process of detaching from someone, emotions can arise like overwhelming waves: longing, anger, sadness, confusion, perhaps even a glimmer of hope that soon fades. If we are not mindful, these emotions can hijack us, leading to impulsive behaviors, ruminating on the past, or sinking into despair. The practice of mindfulness is like building an internal lighthouse, allowing us to observe these waves without drowning in them. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, insisted on the importance of examining our impressions, phantasiae, the initial interpretations we make of events. He said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. When a memory of the person arises, or when you see something that reminds you of them, the first impression might be a pang of pain. Mindfulness invites us to pause in that moment. Instead of reacting automatically, grabbing the phone, sinking into sadness, you observe, here is longing. I recognize it." This observation is made without judgment. It's not "how silly to feel this again," or "I'll never get over this." It's simply recognizing the emotion as a passing energy. Psychologist Carl Rogers spoke of the importance of unconditional positive regard, and we can apply this to ourselves and our emotions. By observing your emotions with this curious and compassionate distance, you begin to realize that you are not your emotions. You are the observer of them. How to cultivate this mindfulness in daily life? It can be as simple as setting aside a few minutes to breathe consciously, feeling the air enter and leave, and noticing the thoughts that come and go like clouds in the sky. It can be practicing the sacred pause before responding to a message that upsets you, or before indulging in a cycle of negative thoughts about the person you are detaching from. When the image of the person or a strong emotion connected to them arises, instead of fighting it or getting carried away, try to name it silently: longing, anger, memory. This simple act of naming creates a space between you and the emotion, diminishing its power. Marcus Aurelius practiced a form of mindfulness by writing his meditations, examining his own thoughts, motives, and reactions at the end of each day. He sought to align his actions with reason and virtue, a process that requires constant self-observation. Emotional detachment doesn't mean eradicating memories or feelings, as that would be inhumane and, frankly, impossible. It means transforming your relationship with them. With the practice of mindfulness, emotions lose their grip on you. They may still arise, but they pass like the weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, while you remain anchored in your center, the silent guardian of your own peace. This is the subtle and profound transformation that Stoic mindfulness can offer you. Chapter 5. Acting in accordance with nature and virtue. Rebuilding your authentic self. Lesson 5. The fifth and transformative Stoic lesson for emotional detachment calls us to action, to act in accordance with nature and virtue, and in doing so, to rebuild our authentic selves. Often, when we are deeply attached to someone, especially if the relationship has become unbalanced or toxic, we can lose ourselves. Our priorities become confused, our values can be compromised, and our true essence becomes obscured by the attempt to please, to maintain the bond at any cost, or by the pain of absence. Stoicism, with Marcus Aurelius at the forefront, emphasizes the importance of living in harmony with nature. This has a dual meaning, living in accordance with our own rational and social human nature, and living in harmony with the greater order of the cosmos, accepting what we cannot change. In the context of detachment, this means realigning our actions with who we truly are and what we intrinsically value, instead of being guided by the dynamics of the relationship that is being undone. When the excessive focus on another person diminishes, a space opens up. The question is, how will you fill that space? The Stoics would say, with virtuous actions. Virtue, for them, was the only true good and included wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. By emotionally detaching, you have the opportunity to rediscover and cultivate these virtues in your own life. Ask yourself, what activities bring me a sense of purpose and meaning, regardless of anyone else? What values did I neglect while I was so focused on this relationship? How can I act with more courage to face loneliness and transform it into creative solitude? How can I be more just to myself, honoring my needs and limits? Rebuilding your authentic self after emotional detachment is like rediscovering a lost friend, yourself. It might involve resuming hobbies that were set aside, investing in your personal or professional development, strengthening other friendships and family ties that are genuinely nourishing, or simply dedicating time to be with yourself in silence, rediscovering your own thoughts and desires. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and I would add, on the quality of your actions. Every small action aligned with your deepest values, whether an act of kindness, a moment of study, a step towards a personal goal, reinforces your sense of self-esteem and autonomy. You begin to realize that your validation and well-being come from within, from your ability to live a life of purpose and integrity, and not from the approval or presence of another person. This rediscovery of the authentic self is perhaps one of the sweetest fruits of the bitter process of detachment. It is the freedom to be who you are without the distortions imposed by a dysfunctional attachment. It is to flourish in your own light, nourished by your own roots. It is the beauty of rediscovering yourself, stronger, wiser, and more truly you. If you feel you are ready for this reconstruction, to rediscover and honor your authentic self, leave a like on this video. It's a recognition of your own journey of flourishing. Chapter 6. The continuous journey of emotional wisdom, maintaining conquered peace. We arrive at our sixth reflection, which is not so much a new lesson, but the understanding that emotional detachment and the cultivation of inner wisdom are a continuous journey, not a final destination. The 5 lessons we've explored: recognizing your inner fortress, accepting impermanence, practicing selective indifference, cultivating mindfulness, and acting in accordance with virtue, are not magic pills that, once taken, guarantee emotional immunity forever. They are rather precious tools, a set of compasses and maps that we need to learn to use and consult repeatedly throughout life. Maintaining the peace conquered after a painful emotional detachment requires gentle vigilance and constant practice. There will be days when old emotions resurface with unexpected force: a special date, a casual encounter, a memory brought by a song. In those moments, the temptation to fall back into old patterns of thought and reaction can be great. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes not just a philosophy, but a life practice. Seneca warned us that, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. Emotional detachment from a specific person can be achieved, but the challenge of maintaining emotional balance in the face of life's vicissitudes is perennial. Every new interaction, every new challenge is an opportunity to apply and deepen these teachings. What to do when you realize you're slipping, that the old pain or the old pattern of attachment is trying to reassert itself. First, self-compassion. As Marcus Aurelius himself would say, referring to his own mistakes, Do not demand that men should be perfect, but strive to be good, and do not be discouraged if you fail. Don't punish yourself for feeling. Instead, use your mindfulness, lesson 4, to observe what is happening without judgment. Acknowledge the emotion. Next, revisit your inner fortress, lesson 1. Remember that your power of choice over your reactions remains intact. Ask yourself, what is under my control here and now? Apply selective indifference, lesson 3, to that which is not. Remember impermanence, lesson 2. This wave of emotion will also pass. And most importantly, turn to virtuous actions aligned with your authentic self, lesson 5. What can you do now that reinforces your center, your peace, your values? True emotional freedom is not the absence of challenges, but the growing confidence in your ability to navigate them with wisdom and resilience. It's knowing that you have become your own safe harbor. Stoic tools are not for eliminating life's storms, but for strengthening your boat and your skill as captain of your soul. And remember, this journey is yours, but you are not alone in it. This channel, this community, exists to support this continuous search for wisdom and inner peace. How do you intend to apply these Stoic teachings, not only to detach, but to build a more emotionally resilient future? Which of these lessons do you feel will be your greatest guide? Share your deep reflections in the comments. Your experience might be the light another traveler needs. Throughout this journey, we have delved into the depths of Stoic wisdom, guided by the light of Marcus Aurelius, in search of the art of emotional detachment. We've seen that it's not about erecting walls of coldness, but about building an inner fortress of self-knowledge and self-respect. We learned about the power of our mind, the inevitability of impermanence, the value of selective indifference, the clarity of mindfulness, and the joy of rebuilding an authentic self through virtue. Emotionally detaching from someone is, in essence, an act of reclaiming your own emotional sovereignty. It's declaring to yourself that your peace is non-negotiable, that your happiness cannot depend exclusively on another human being, no matter how much you love or have loved them. It's a return home to your center, where a strength and serenity reside that you may have forgotten you possessed. Remember the words of Epictetus: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. The transformation you seek, the inner peace you long for, begins with the decision to become the master of yourself. The Stoic lessons are your allies, your instruments. Use them, practice them, live them. The journey may not be easy, but the emotional freedom that lies on the other side of the pain of attachment is the most valuable prize. May you walk with courage, wisdom, and a growing sense of peace, knowing that the greatest fortress and the safest refuge are within you. If this message has touched your heart and illuminated your path, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and join our community. Together, we can continue to explore the paths to a life of more meaning, balance, and inner peace.